back, fellow thrill seekers. Hope everyone's having a great day. And today we have a whole new, brand new story, and I'm gonna let Snoop Dogg take the floor.
Brothers behind execution-style massacre in California called a unique breed of evil. On July 18, 1995, three men walked into Pato's Place, a quiet bar on the outskirts of town in Chillier, California. They wore ski masks and carried shotguns. They demanded money from everyone inside and gathered about $300. Minutes later, the owner, Guadalupe Cantu, 43, was critically wounded and 5 others in the bar were dead. Cantu, who'd been shot in the chest, pretended to be dead until the shooting stopped and the perpetrators left. He then managed to call 911. Investigators described the crime scene as horrific and a place of carnage. It would take 10 years and another mass homicide before the Pato's Place killers would be brought to trial. At the saloon, each victim had been shot in the head and executed at point-blank range. The victims were Celia Martinez, 50, Armando Lugo, 22, Jorge Munoz, 23, Roberta Lynn Nunes, 39, and Margaret Moreno, 44. It was hard to walk around because of the amount of blood. At face value, it appeared to be a robbery. Brian Moore, a detective with the Chillier PD, told producers. But investigators couldn't understand why 5 people would be massacred. Authorities searched for a motive. They spoke with Cantu as he recovered from his injuries and learned he knew the victims. They were hard-working people, all in the wrong place at the wrong time, he said. Cantu was only able to provide a vague description of the killers, though. This was the biggest case in Chillier County history at the time as far as the amount of victims. Ryan Haney, a detective with the Chillier County PD, told producers. Investigators dug into the case, collecting evidence at the scene, which included a shoe print on a bar stool. They canvassed the area and interviewed witnesses. Few leads surfaced, so officials relied on the media and the community to spread the word about the crime. A day after the murders, phone calls came in as evidence turned up around the city. Wallets, clothes, and shoes were found on the sides of roads in Chillier. Then, ski masks turned up, and then the shotguns. Authorities confirmed that the recovered guns were the murder weapons. Detectives collected DNA material from the masks that was analyzed, but there was no database to search for matches to track down suspects. The investigation stalled. 6 months later, the triple homicide in nearby Corcoran, Calif, in Kings County re-energized the Pato's Place investigation. In this case, 3 men had been shot at close range. The victims were Kimmy Jones, 34, Cesar Bergino, 33, and Charles Shields, 24, and they'd all been shot twice in the head. The Associated Press reported in 1999. Jones' history with narcotics led officials to consider that the slayings were connected to a drug hit. Dave Putnam, a detective for Kings County Sheriff's Department, told producers that the brutal crime scene had the look of an execution homicide. The perpetrator's philosophy appeared to be not to leave anybody alive that could be a witness. Mass murders were a rarity in Chillier and Kings counties, so investigators considered that the triple homicide in the residence could be connected to the Pato's Place massacre. Authorities from each county worked as a team, conducting surveillance, doing interviews, and comparing notes each step of the way. But 18 months later, officials hit a wall. In February 1997, nearly 2 years after the Pato's Place slayings, investigators got the lead they needed when Anthony Wolf was arrested for fraud. Wolf wanted to bargain for leniency and said he had information about the Pato's Place homicides because he was there. Investigators were skeptical, but when Wolf described how one of the perpetrators jumped over the bar, they realized he had inside information. Detectives had never made the detail public. He was offered immunity in exchange for charges in an unrelated counterfeiting case being dropped, the Hanford Sentinel reported in 2005. Once the deal was struck, Wolf spilled everything. He claimed that the killers were Donald and Timothy Young, brothers who'd grown up in Lemoore, Calif. After high school, the Young brothers struggled, going from job to job and eventually falling into criminal ways that got increasingly more serious. Wolf described how the robbery and murders went down at the bar. After he and the brothers fled the scene, Wolf said Donald reminded him that they knew where he and his grandmother lived to ensure his silence. This confession broke the case wide open, detectives told producers. The brothers, who'd previously done time, weren't incarcerated when the second round of mass murders occurred. That meant that they could have been the killers. However, the siblings also had alibis for their whereabouts during the Corcoran murders. They'd both been at party, they said. As with the Potto's Place crime, an alleged accomplice with criminal history soon came forward as a witness. In December 1998, Michael Horbert, 34, told authorities that Donald and Timothy Young entered the Jones residence to steal drugs. As he waited in the getaway car, Horbert said he heard gunshots from inside, and then the Youngs came back to the car with drugs they'd taken. Meanwhile, DNA evidence on the ski masks and a recovered shoe tied the brothers to the Potto's Place crimes. Almost 4 years after the homicides at the bar, investigators were finally able to obtain arrest warrants. The brothers were charged with 5 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. After years of legal stalling by the Youngs, who knew how to work the system, as the daughter of a Potto's Place victim told producers, the trials for Donald Young, 36, and Timothy Young, 35, began in September 2005. More than a decade had passed since the Potto's Place homicides. It was going to be a hotly contested battle. Defense attorney Galadia DeLapp told producers. But Wolf, whose credibility was a concern, turned out to be an effective witness for the prosecution. Plus, the DNA evidence was solid. In December 2005, the Young brothers were convicted of murdering 5 people. They were sentenced to death in 2006. The second trial for the murders in Kings County was abandoned. Whether you call the Young brothers serial killers or mass murderers, Kesley told producers, they are part of a unique breed capable of that kind of evil.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all your support. Please like, comment, subscribe if you'd like more.